Josh, are we good? Okay, in that case, then let's get started. Good evening. Tonight is June 7th, 2021, and this is the June monthly meeting of the Concord School Board. We welcome all of our guests. It's very nice to see you. First thing, order of business. Ms. Cannon, will you please call a roll?
Yes, but as I have no microphone, I'm going to just speak up. No, it's okay. I have a pretty loud voice. Ms. Hastings. Ms. Higgins. Mr. Parker.
Here.
Mr. Richards.
Here.
Ms. Smith.
Here.
Ms. Walsh.
Here.
Mr. Weinberg.
Here.
Ms. West.
Here.
And I am here. So I think that's 7 of the 9.
So we have a quorum. Thank you very much, Ms. Cannon. So the next order of business will be to approve our agenda for this evening. The agenda can be found in your board book or on the web page under the school board. Does anyone have any additions or amendments to the agenda? Not seeing any. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda for tonight?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Weinberg. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Mr. Parker. Since we are... Nope, very good. Take your time. Let me know whenever we're ready. We're good. Since we are all here and we do not have anyone participating remotely from the board tonight, oh, is Barb? Oh, sorry, Barb, I didn't see you. Welcome. So you can add Barb to the to our roll. So in that case, since we have one remote participant, Ms. Cannon, would you please call the roll for approval of the agenda? Mm-hmm.
Ms. Higgins. Barb, can you hear us? Let's try again. Barb, can you hear us?
Barb, can you hear?
Okay. Okay. So we have a motion to approve the agenda that we're voting on. She doesn't seem to be able to hear me.
So, Barb, we have a motion to approve tonight's agenda. We are voting on it, and it is your vote. Yay or nay? She's very, very faint when we hear her. We can hear you very faintly, Barb. Let's. Yeah, I think the agenda is echoey and bizarre tonight. No, we can hear you. You're kind of quiet, but this will work. So, okay. All right, please continue, Ms. Cannon.
Mr. Parker.
Yes. Yay.
Mr. Richards.
Yes.
Ms. Smith.
Aye.
Ms. Walsh.
Aye.
Mr. Weinberg.
Aye.
Ms. West.
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Very good. Then proceeding with the agenda, next item is approval of the board minutes. We will be approving the regular monthly minutes of the May meeting as well as our special board meeting on the 24th. Does anyone have any changes or additions to the minutes for either of those meetings? And if you'd be so kind as if Barb waves to let me know to look. Not seeing any changes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes as stated?
So moved.
Okay, moved by Ms. Smith. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Walsh. Okay, Ms. Kinnon, will you please call the roll for this vote?
Ms. Higgins? Aye. Mr. Barker?
Aye.
Mr. Richards?
Aye.
Ms. Smith?
Aye.
Ms. Walsh?
Aye.
Mr. Weinberg?
Aye.
Ms. West?
Aye.
And I vote aye, 8-0.
Very good, the minutes are approved. And with that, we come to the part that everybody is waiting for. So Superintendent, without further ado, do you need a mic? You have a microphone, good. Try it now.
Larry. Larry.
All right, thank you, thank you. This is a great night because we take some time to honor some people who have been very special to the district, who have devoted their years of service to the children and families and to their colleagues. And so what a great night to celebrate. Thanks to Donna and her team. We had a nice some snacks before the meeting, and I appreciate that. I know Donna's here. We're going to do it a little bit differently this year. We wanted to change it up just a bit. And so we have the retirees both of 2020. We didn't get to celebrate last year. I don't know why. I do know why. But we will celebrate those folks, and then at the same time we'll also be talking and celebrating our 2021 retirees. So, and I've asked the principals to do this in honor, and the department heads in honor of the folks that they've been working with for many years. I thought it would be a nice touch to have them up and also say a few words about those folks. Before we begin, I have one that we want to do pretty early on here. Pam, are you going to do your retiree? Why don't you come on down? Do you have her?
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Pam McLeod. I'm the Technology Director. This year we have my first retiree since coming to the district, Rocky Stone, who has been with the district since the 1990s, I think. He's not quite sure when, but he started as a contractor and has been with us officially since 2004 or so. And you know, Rocky handled all of the data for the district, the student information system. He's known for his kind of easy, unflappable manner, and for resetting all of your I4C passwords every time you're in a panic about certification, right? He is a father figure to many members of my team, so we will definitely miss him. So, Rocky? Okay.
Thank you.
Do you want to come down? Do you want to be down here?
However you wish to do it, we're probably not shaking hands, but
Right,
we are
so
virtually shaking hands with all of
I
our
think that's probably
retirees
the
and
best
very
way to
proud
do
of
it
them.
tonight, since we're still using the protocols. So if that's okay with you. So to start off with our schools, Abbott Downing, Principal Blinn was not able to be with us this evening, but we're going to have Larry do the Abbott Downing group. So I'll let you take over.
First on the list is Tracy Carpenter. I don't know if Tracy, you're here? Okay, we'll still say it. Was hired in 1981 as a classroom teacher at Dewey School. She's worked at Conant, Rumford, and Abbott Downing. Tracy earned her bachelor's degree from Keene State College. She retires with 40 years of service. She was passionate about her school and community and her students. She was the teacher who wanted to and was willing to be on the team, whether it was the Universal Expectations team, the social committee, and many, many more. She was a mentor to countless teachers, the go-to teacher in the building. The story that portrays Tracy well: as soon as we went into remote learning because of COVID-19, Tracy set herself up a space in her home that became the remote teaching office. And each and every single day that she taught remotely, she dressed for work in her consummate professional style, a truly dedicated professional. So thank you, Tracy. And Melanie McSteen. Okay. Started working in 1984 in the 3-hour program. In 1989, Melanie began working as a guidance counselor at Walker and Kimball schools. She earned her bachelor's degree from Penn State University and her master's degree from the University of Pittsburgh and the University of New Hampshire. Melanie retires with 36 years of service. She was a longtime counselor in our district who always worked hard to connect with students and try to find solutions to problems. She was an incredibly thoughtful colleague, that person who wrote you a personal note or thanks of encouragement or dropped off a package of cookies when you needed it. Mel gave of herself every day of her long career on behalf of Concord students. Well, thank you, Mel. And Diane Serrard started working as a reading teacher at Rumford in 1998. Diane also worked as a classroom teacher at Conant and Abbott Downing. She earned her bachelor's degree from Plymouth State and retires with over 25 years of service. Diane was a reading recovery teacher early in her career and never forgot those roots. She was a teacher who made strong connections with all her students, but you could tell that she had a special place in her heart for students who were at risk because of academic challenges or those who struggled, and she worked to make sure that they got what they needed. It was rare to see her without a big smile on her face. Her classroom was a positive learning environment. She was always interested in collaborating with others, whether it was a math specialist or data coordinator. She would invite you into her classroom and relished the opportunity to learn from others. So thank you, Diane. I just wanted to say that I took the time as I was waiting for the meeting to start to add up the years of service. We're looking at over 2 years, 1,254 years of service. So that's great. That's real dedication.
Next to greet our retirees from Broken Ground, our principal, Sue Losey.
Thanks. So last year we had 2 teachers retire. I don't think they're here. One was Lisa Mills. Lisa was such a passionate educator who loves words, and she loves sharing linguistics with her students and their developing their literacy. She loved having the students at Broken Ground for 3 years. She would take them from Millbrook and have them for the 3 years, and they became just like her pack. She was always willing to help out with any of the fun-filled activities. I can just remember her doing things like telling the merits of the books that are going to be the prizes at bingo night, serving pancakes at a local eatery for our families, making cotton candy at the Harvest Fest, and serving her husband's specialty chocolate cake with peanut butter frosting. She was a dedicated teacher who cared deeply about her students. We miss her greatly. And then second teacher, you know a lot. Oh, sure. Our second teacher last year was actually Brenda Hastings. I don't think she's missed a meeting till tonight. I think she must have known I was going to speak. She wanted every student in her class to be successful. She was passionate about having her kids all learn to read well during that 3rd grade year and to develop their independent learning skills. She was absolutely passionate about making sure and advocating for kids getting the support services and interventions that they needed so that they could accelerate their progress. She had such a focus on academic rigor. Now, on the other side, Brenda loved to have a good time spoofing her colleagues and to promote school spirit with her class. She added quite the spice to every day, and we miss her at 3rd grade. Concord's fortunate to have her on the school board now with her perspective on classroom teaching. So then, as we got to the beginning of this year, Two of our longtime educational assistants decided that with all the COVID and pandemic things happening, they would not be able to return. So right in the summer, we found this out. And so the first one that I would call up would be Anne Marie Kalinsky, who's here with us tonight. Anne Marie began working in 2006 as an instructional assistant at Broken Ground, and she's retiring with 15 years of service. Come on over. Yeah. Her caring and generous spirit was evident every day at Broken Ground. She rose to every occasion, no matter what her assignment of the year was, helping students. She helped them with basic needs and with health and with making sure they felt included in their classes. We miss your stories, never short stories, novel length, and we valued your dedication to every student. Thanks so much for your service. And our second instructional assistant, I don't believe is here, Virginia Mayville, also known as Candy. She came the same year in 2006 to Broken Ground and also is retiring with 15 years of service. Candy blessed us with her deep commitment to helping our new American families and students find their way. And she always accepted every challenge with a smile. Whether she was welcoming students as they came to school in the cafeteria for breakfast, or whether she was joining a third grade Elvis lip sync, or attending evening events like Harvest Fest with her mentee. Her consistency, her sense of fun and care for others was always present. We miss you, Candy. This one I don't want to do, but I'm going to do it. Nancy Pender. Come on up. Nancy was hired in 1989 as a special educator teacher at Dame School. And then in 2008, she became an elementary special ed coordinator. In 2019, she became the first assistant principal for student services at Broken Ground School. She earned both her bachelor and master's degrees from the University of New Hampshire and has retiring now with 32 years of service. Her career has had many paths, let's put it that way. Her first year as a special educator at Dame, all the classes and staff were relocated around the city due to a facility issue. Despite the panic and the craziness, Nancy just rolled up her sleeves, helped class after class and students all move to new locations around the city, into places like Franklin Pierce College, Broken Ground, Staff Room, and Beaver Meadow. Now, in her last years, when she was going to retire last year, a global pandemic comes. So she has seen us move in and out of remote learning, demanding new learning and approaches for all. Through it all, Nancy's calm and steady presence has kept us all on course, and she has kept her focus always on students and families. In the years that Nancy's been in Concord, she's served on many key committees, like implementing new initiatives like technology to level the playing field for students that had disabilities, bringing responsive classroom to the district, and more recently, increasing our repertoire for serving students with social emotional needs. We're going to miss her connections with generations of families, her keen investigative skills, her kindness, her sense of humor, and her unwavering commitment to each child and staff member. We wish you great fun in your retirement.
So I think next up is our principal from Beaver Meadow, Michelle Vance.
Mr. Pike, I'm going to start with you because I see that you're here. Come on down. I don't want to be down here by myself. Come on. James Pike, known as Jim Pike, began working in 1989 as a classroom teacher at Walker and then at Beaver Meadow School in 1991. James earned his bachelor's degree from Plymouth State University in 1982. He retires with 31 years of service. Mr. Pike is that teacher who each and every year parents call to request. He's beloved by all of the students and knows because they know how much he cares. He is that teacher that students never ever forget. In the past 5 years that I have known Jim, I cannot even begin to tell you how many grown adults have come to Beaver Meadow School so that they can visit with Mr. Pike, AKA Mr. Pickles. We do not have to say how much we will miss him because he decided to stick around, and he's now working as an instructional assistant at Beaver Meadow School. Beaver Meadow School is forever grateful to Mr. Pike. Best wishes. Patricia Clancy started working in 1984 as an instructional assistant at Garrison. In 1987, she moved to Beaver Meadow School. She retired with 36 years of service. Patty Clancy was a dedicated instructional assistant who loved the students for who they were. She is well known at Beaver Meadow School for her sense of humor and her willingness to be a team player, always wanting to do the Spirit Weeks. She was a leader among her peers and was always willing to share her thoughts. She truly was a gift to the students and her colleagues at Beaver Meadow School. Patricia Croto was hired in 1988 as an instructional assistant at Beaver Meadow School. She left the district in 1997, but then again returned back to Beaver Meadow School in 1999 as a program assistant. She retired with over 30 years of service. Pat Croto shared her many talents with our students. She would do whatever it took to support students and make sure that they knew that she cared each and every day. She was always kind, always patient, and her love for Beaver Meadow School was contagious. The sound of her laugh when she dropped something, which happened quite frequently, and if she's listening, she's laughing hysterically right now, has truly been missed. Susan Daba-Lewis was hired as the school nurse at Beaver Meadow School in 1998. She earned her associate's degree in nursing from the New Hampshire Technical College. Susan retired with 22 years of service. Susan loved to share her stories. One of the many things that we miss about Susan is that sound of her contagious, contagious laughter. Her giggle was so contagious that you could not be in the same space as Susan and not giggle yourself, even not knowing anything at all what she was laughing about. It was so contagious. She was a dedicated nurse with a no-nonsense attitude, and we do miss her at Beaver Meadow School. Carol Whartonby started working in 1988 as an instructional assistant at Beaver Meadow. She retired also with 32 years of service. Carol loved to help in any way that she could. She developed positive relationships with all of the students that she worked so closely with and would advocate always for their best interest. We wish her all of the best in her retirement. And we did not have anyone retired this year. These are all retirees from last year. Okay, surprise, we have one more. All right. Shari Palma was hired in 2004 as an instructional assistant at Conant. She has also worked at Rumford and Beaver Meadow School. Sherry's going to retire with 17 years of service. Sherry works in our preschool and has been amazing working with our youngest learners, and every day comes to work with a smile on her face, ready to work with our sweet, sweet little preschoolers. Thank you, Sherry.
So Mr. Reardon, you want to come on up and introduce your retirees?
Good evening, everyone. Anybody who knows me won't be surprised that I wasn't aware that we were going to speak. We're going to speak tonight, but I don't need preparation to talk about our retirees this evening. One of the things when I talk about Concord High School as I learn more about it is that I've been doing this for a while, and I'm aware that every high school has outstanding teachers. I've never been in any high school that has as many truly superb educators as does Concord High School. There are so many of them that give so much every day to this community's children that it is truly, not as a cliche, but it's truly an honor to work among them. So I'm going to begin with last year's folks. Andrea Barker, who kind of kept me afloat when I first got to CHS in the front office, began working in 1994 as an instructional assistant. For the next 8 years, she worked as an instructional assistant at both Kimball and Runlet. In 2002, Andrea took an administrative assistant position at Concord High School, and she retires last year with over 26 years service. If I'm going to get through this, I've got to take this off. My glasses are fogging up. Elaine Bromer was hired in 2001 as an administrative assistant at Concord High. In 2006, she became the administrative assistant for athletics. She retires after 19 years of service. Elaine Bromer. And William Crowley began teaching business at Concord High in 2000. Bill earned his bachelor's degree from Cornell University and his master's degree from Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, two premier colleges. He retires with 20 years of service. Bill Crowley. So before I get to this year's retirees, I just want to take a second to talk about Bill Crowley a little bit more. Bill Crowley's still teaching at the high school. I was talking to him today. He came back when we had an opening in our business, unanticipated opening in our business department earlier this year. He came out of retirement to really save our bacon. And that's the kind of person that Bill is. We had a little recognition ceremony for our retirees at the faculty meeting on Thursday. And I said about Bill, he's probably one of the nicest people I've ever met in education. So he's going to be sorely missed. So as I suggested, there are a lot of really outstanding teachers at the high school. The three people that we're losing this year, and I mean losing. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. So all right. Sorry, folks. Denise Fournier was originally hired in 1984 as an English teacher at Runlet. Denise Fournier was originally hired in 1984 as an English teacher at Runlet. She left in 1997, then returned to teach English at Concord High in 2002. Denise earned her bachelor's degree from Salve Regina College and her master's degree from the University of New Hampshire. She retires with a total of 32 years of service. Denise Fournier. Jocelyn Jerry Walcott began working in 1997 as an internship coordinator at Concord High. The following year, she became a guidance counselor. Jocelyn earned her bachelor's degree from Trinity College and her master's degree from the State University of New York. and she retired last year with 23 years of service. Jocelyn Walcott.
Thank you for your service. Thank you for your service.
Rebecca Schaefer was hired in 1996 at Concord High, where she has worked as a guidance counselor. She earned her bachelor's degree from the University of Pittsburgh and her master's degree from the University of New Hampshire. Rebecca retires with 22 years of service. Rebecca Schaefer. Good to see you. Okay, where was I? So we're losing 3 folks this year, simply put, Concord High School is not going to be the same place next fall that it was for the past many years. These people are just absolutely outstanding in the truest sense of the word. I cannot overemphasize that. I'm not saying that because we're honoring them. I'm saying it because it's true. So I'll start with Chef Mac. Bob McIntosh has run our culinary program at CRTC for, I believe it was 20 years. And he has done that with absolute quality and care for his students. The students he produces in that culinary program are ambitious, they are exquisitely prepared, and they are intensely loyal to that program and to Bob himself. And it's just not going to be the same place without Chef Mac. So, and I don't believe, Chef is here. Whoa. Oh my God. Good to see you, man. Thanks, Chef Mac. Is Lauraernst here? Cool. Laura is, I think, also retiring after it was 20 years, as the head, basically, of our German program. At this faculty meeting on Thursday, one of the things that was presented was that her 4th and 5th year senior German students offered some remarks about Laura. And they were heartfelt. And I said to the faculty after they were completed that any of us, after retiring, that had that type of a tribute from our students would be not only proud, but well served for our entire careers. Laura is an innovator. She is intensely dedicated to her students, and she has been a quiet and outstanding presence at Concord High School for the past 20 years. And again, it's just one of those people that we'll have somebody teaching those German classes next year, but it's not going to be anyone anywhere near the quality of teacher that Lauraernst is. So, Laura. Duly noted. Is Lisa Boffinger here? Really? Oh, okay. Lisa Boffinger, our science department curriculum facilitator, is retiring after 37 years at Concord High School. I guess I'd say a couple of things. First of all, that when we had our curriculum facilitator meeting about a week ago, Lisa said that the thing that always motivated her or always defined her as a teacher was that she liked to break rules. And if you know Lisa at all, you know she's not doing that out of being a rebel. She's doing it because of her commitment to the school and to its students, and always looking for a better way and the right way to educate them. The one thing that stands out to me about Lisa Boffinger, well, two things, but the first thing is that her kids were always doing science. They didn't have their heads buried in a textbook. They weren't looking at a video. They were doing science. They were out in the community. They were brooks and lakes. They were out in the fields. They were conducting experiments in the classroom day after day. Those kids were learning what it meant to be a scientist. And that, in its essence, is what is good teaching in science is about. The second thing is that, and I share this with the faculty as well, Lisa always kind of scared me a little bit because she is a hard charger, and she doesn't take no for an answer, certainly not very easily. And if she thinks something's wrong, she's going to tell you. But anybody who knows her at all knows that all of that comes from, again, her commitment to her beliefs, and her belief is in the school and in the kids and in the students. So a very special round of applause, please, for Lisa Boffinger. Okay. This list keeps expanding every time I turn around. Christine Bozeman started working as an administrative assistant in 2009 at Concord High, and she retired last year after 12 years of service. Is Christine here? Come on down, Christine. Is that it? No. Deborah Garofalo started working as an instructional assistant at Concord High in 1995, and she retires with 26 years of service. So is Deborah Garofalo here? Round of applause, please.
You're done?
I'm done? Okay, you're going to find something in a minute.
Thank you. Mr. Dunn, you want to come up and do some folks from central office? Yeah, you do?
Yep. Okay. I'm going to take this off. That's all right. I have two folks at a central office that are in the business department that are retiring. The first one is Katherine Ruddy. Kathy was hired in February of 2000 at central office as the federal funds secretary. In 2005, she became the business manager and has served in that role for the last 16 years. Kathy retires on June 30th, 2021 with 21 years of service. She'll be spending lots of time with her family and her newest grandchild, who is expected to arrive later this summer. On a personal note, I will tell you this, since I got to the district 9 years ago, Kathy has been my right arm, and I'll definitely miss her. She was fantastic to work with, very easygoing. You could tell Kathy your car's out in the parking lot on fire. Well, that's okay. Nothing rattled Kathy. And as I said to the school board, the reason why the business office was successful, because two of the people I'm going to mention here tonight. Kathy was one of them, and the other one I'll start on now. But I wish Kathy well. Her replacement is here, and she has been training her since May 17th, so we look forward to her service for the district. But the next one, Cindy Shea. You come down here. You ain't getting away from sitting there. Is this your bittersweet moment? Cindy was hired in August 1986 as the assistant to the food service director. In 2005, she became the federal funds administrative assistant. There's that role again. And has served in this role for the last 16 years. Cindy retires on June 30th, 2021 with 35 years of service. What's that? I know. Yes. So, as I mentioned, Kathy Rourke was first. She was the federal funds assistant, and Cindy trained her and took over. So, between the two of them, I think I'm looking at 56 years of service that's going out the door. And I think I have another 40-some years leaving in December. So, complete refresh. But I think there was, in her retirement letter, there was a statement she made that I'll read that really epitomizes her work ethic. Every day for 35 years, I've risen and readied myself to come to work. If you think about it, I have spent a huge percentage of my life working for the Concord School District, supporting students, parents, and the taxpayers of Concord. And I will attest, for the last 9 years working with her, yes, she has. So, again, the other one I talk about in the business office. That's the support. So,
Thank you. Thank you.
You're good. Thank you. Matt, you want to finish? Central office? Got your mask?
Mona, what's the score to the Bruins game? 1-1. All right. Mona, would you come down? Drop my glass. 25.5 years of service, Mona Paquette. When I think of Mona, and I think of you often, I think of the phrase, attitude is everything. No matter what the task, she always, always had a smile on her face and did the job with a can-do attitude. Mona, I'll tell you a little story, quick one. We would run into each other during the week all the time, face to face. But if I ever received a phone call, which I did on occasion, I knew if it was from Mona, I knew something was up, and I knew I needed to have a talking to. I miss those. You've been a good friend and the glue that held our department together. Thank you. Congratulations. Thanks again, Mona. Denise Stevens. Denise isn't here tonight. I spoke with her earlier today. Denise came to the facilities department 5 years ago. She's had over 34 years with the Concord School District. That's a lot of time. She made a dramatic impact in the facilities department when she started a little over 5 years ago. I've never seen anyone with such a hard work ethic, attention to detail, and dedication to the job and to the district. She went over and above the call of duty every single day. I think Denise is watching tonight, so if you are, thank you, Denise. Our next retiree we want to recognize, who also is not here tonight, is Dae-Young Ko. Dae-Young Ko has worked in Beaver Meadow, Runlet Middle School, and the high school. He retired out of Runlet Middle School. Another can-do attitude. He was hardworking. He never missed a day of work, and you could always count on him. He was a model custodian.
And joining us, principal at Krista McAuliffe, Chris Gallup. Do you need some? Oh, yeah.
Yep, we'll start with who's next. The other one? Oh, all right, but can I start with the folks who aren't here, though? On both. All right, do you have the Hi, good evening. I'll start with a couple folks who are not able to be here tonight. First, Lisa Hamm was our PE teacher who retired last year, so we've gone through this whole school year without her. She was hired as an elementary PE teacher in 1988. She earned her bachelor's degree from Plymouth State University, and she retires with 32 years of service. For anyone who knows Lisa, you know she has a huge heart. She had the honor of opening up our huge gymnasium in Christa McAuliffe School, and she loved it because she traveled from school to school to school, and she was even outside of schools at the Y teaching gym for many years, so she was extremely excited to get to Christa McAuliffe, and she was a phenomenal PE teacher. She created our field days, which live on to today, and I miss her dearly. So a round of applause for Lisa, please. Someone else who could not be here tonight retired, I think, 3 days ago. Louise Walker was hired in 1985 as an instructional assistant at Walker School. She transferred to Christa McAuliffe School in 2012, and she retires with 36 years of service. Louise was a very funny person, loved to laugh. She loved to tell me when I did things wrong. I loved talking to her. I learned a lot from her, and she had a huge heart. Kids adored her. They've missed her a lot this year. She hasn't been here for most of the school year, and she has been sorely missed by people, and I've missed her as well. So a round of applause for Louise. Denise Byrne, you are here. You have to come on down. Hi. Oh, yes, ma'am. Denise Byrne started working in 2002 as a food service assistant, and in 2008 became an elementary cook at Kimball School and then Christa McAuliffe School. She retires with 19 years of service. Denise also, like Lisa Hamm, had the honor of opening up her own brand new kitchen at Christa McAuliffe School, and she fed thousands and cared for thousands of our kids, and absolutely every single one of them loved her. She was a lady with the food. Who doesn't love that? And she also wasn't just the head of the kitchen. She was the head of a very exclusive club called the Breakfast Club. So the people who came in at like 6:30 in the morning, they would hang out with Denise. They never quite shared their covert agendas with me, but I'm sure they had very important things to discuss. And I'm sure Denise does not miss a hot kitchen on days like this. And her favorite decisions now are how long to stay in Florida next year. So we've missed you all year, Denise. Okay, Katherine Ruddy, last but not least, come on down. Katherine Ruddy began working as an elementary permanent substitute in 2005. She began working at Christa McAuliffe School in 2016 and retires with 16 years of service. Katherine, if you've ever had a chance to talk to her, has a gift of gab, so she's very fun to hang out with, and she has a great sense of humor, and our kids love her. I remember when the permanent substitutes were moved into the elementary schools, she was adamant she was going to be placed at Christa McAuliffe School because that's where her connections were, and that was very important for our staff and our kids, and it's been very fun ever since then. And for those of you who don't know her prior life, she worked for a very posh designer, and we should go shopping in her closet. In fact, I convinced her to come back and sub periodically next year so she has a place to wear all her clothes. So I'm very excited to see you again next year. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. And our principal from Millbrook, Katie Scapardi. You ready? You want it?
Susan Phillips, who I don't think is with us tonight, started working at Dame in 1986 as a classroom teacher. In 2012, she began teaching at Millbrook. Susan earned her bachelor's degree from Plymouth State University. She retires with 34 years of service. And anyone who knows Sue knows that she was dedicated to reaching all students. She worked to create connections with students, often going above and beyond to find that one thing that would hook them in. She created a classroom community that focused on learning and growing. She was passionate and dedicated to her students and the Millbrook community. We have missed her this past year. Ellen Ouellette started working in 1998 as an instructional assistant at Dame. She moved to Millbrook in 2014. Ellen retired in November 2020 with over 22 years of service. Ellen worked in such a calm and compassionate way to meet the needs of students. She was dedicated to always helping students and had such a positive impact on the whole community. She has been missed.
Thank you. And our principal from Runlet Middle School, Paulette Fitzgerald, join us.
Thank you. Okay, Runlet Middle School, saving the best for last. Is that what we did? Okay, so okay, so we'll go over people who are review or honor, recognize people who retired last year. Julie Harrington, 6th grade, Language Arts and Social Studies. Julie began working as a classroom teacher at Broken Ground in 1994. In 1997, she transferred to Runlet, the better years of her career. Just kidding. Julie earned her bachelor's degree from Notre Dame College, and she retired with 26 years of service. I know last year was a hard year to end her career with a pandemic. But Julie really, she really embraced the remote learning as much as one could and kept her sense of humor through it all. So a round of applause for Julie Harrington. And also Betsy Heath. Betsy Heath is a hoot. She started working at Runlet as a special education teacher in 2000. In 2004, she began teaching language arts. Betsy earned her bachelor's degree from the University of New Hampshire and her master's degree from Lesley University, and she retired with 20 years of service. And we miss her dearly. Suzanne LeBlanc, 7th grade math teacher. Began working as a math teacher at Runlet in 1993. She earned her bachelor's degree from the University of New Hampshire and her master's degree from New England College, and she retired with 27 years of service. A round of applause for Susie. 27 years teaching math to middle schoolers? That's an accomplishment. Okay, also Tracy Sweet retired last year. Tracy Sweet, and I didn't realize this, she started working in food service in 2002, and then she began working at Runlet as an administrative assistant in 2008. And she retired with 19 years of service, and I believe she's out in Colorado now with her family, which is awesome. Good for her. Okay, so those folks who are retiring this year. Dan Gothier. Dan began working as a social studies teacher in 1993 at Runlet. He earned his bachelor's degree from Keene State College, and he's leaving us, and he'll be teaching down south. I think we will all remember Dan's huge heart and the way he connects with the kids. He's a pretty amazing person, and he also brings us donuts, which also makes us love him even more. He retires with 28 years of service. Congratulations to Dan. Also leaving us this year, even though I begged another year from all of these people, Lori Haney-Rosen. She started working in 1987 as a math teacher at Rundlet. She earned her bachelor's degree from Lesley College and her master's degree from the University of Southern Maine. Kind of like Mike Reardon was saying, when I first met Lori, I didn't quite know how to take her. I was a little like, oh my goodness, I'm a little afraid. Then I saw her work her magic with kids in the classroom. I would go into her classroom and she would be there at her back table, just intently focused on helping these kids learn math, and it's just a beautiful thing to see, a beautiful thing to see. And I realized that the passion that she has for her job is unmatched. Quite amazing. Lori retires with 34 years of service. Also leaving us this year is Julie Nizaka. Julie began working at Rundlet in 1999, where she has taught language arts and social studies during her 22 years in the district. Currently, she's been teaching 7th grade social studies. She earned her bachelor's degree from the University of New Hampshire. If you ever walk into Julie's class, there is a sense of calm, and students are always engaged. Never has any behavior problems in her class. She's just the sweetest person, and she will be missed for sure. So, round of applause for Julie. Also leaving us this year, Jody Ostrowski. She was hired as a tutor in 1994. She worked at Dame, Beaver Meadow, Rundlet, and Concord High School. In 2006, Jody became a language arts teacher at Rundlet. She earned her bachelor's degree from Notre Dame College and her master's degree from Plymouth State University, and she retires with 27 years of service. Congratulations to Jody. Also retiring is Peter Ralston. I think this is Peter's second career at Rundlet. Peter was a school psychologist for a number of years, and then retired, and then came back and has been working as an instructional assistant since 2007 at RMS. And he retires with 14 years of service as an instructional assistant. So congratulations to Peter. 2 careers. All right, Kathy Vincent, who is here. Come on down, Kathy. So Kathy, if you saw Matt coming over to me just a little while ago, he wanted to make sure that he had his input as well. So if I don't get this right, where's Matt? If I don't get this right, you'll correct me. So Kathy was hired as an administrative assistant at Concord High School, where I'm told you pretty much ran the community ed program. And it did an amazing, amazing job. Matt said, and I agree, that you were super dedicated, that you never took a sick day, and you were just always there and running the ship. I know Kathy, when I started at Rundlet, she was there and she was our administrative assistant for special education. And what I can tell you is the same thing. Extremely dedicated, never took a sick day, always dressed super professionally, always like really dressed for the role, and always connected with the kids, and always brought baked goods that we loved, and always had trivia for staff. So 41 years with Concord School District. Thank you, Kathy, and I'm so glad you came out tonight. Matt, did I do okay? Was that, okay. Okay, Robin. Robin Roy. Robbie Roy, come on down. Robin, I don't know if I'm going to make it without you, I'm just saying. Robin greeted me on my first day at RMS, and without her, I would have sunk. No joke, I would have sunk. She has always been there for me and for everybody else at Rundlet. She cares so much about Rundlet, the entire community, and she's also our great historian. She knows, oh, in 19 whatever, this happened. Like, she can tell you all of the details for things that happened, which that institutional knowledge is so valuable. This is hard. She has seen Rundlet through some really challenging times. She has seen me through some really challenging time. She has been so much more than an administrative assistant to me and to our whole community. She has been my mom, my sister, my friend, and sometimes even my therapist, really. And I'm not sure how we're going to do it without her. You know I have you on speed dial just in case, right? So, and so Robin has been with the district for 34 years. So congratulations.
We just have two more to announce, and Larry's going to do that on behalf of Terry Crowley, our Director for Transportation.
So we have two bus drivers who sludged through, 6 feet of snow, hot days, cold days, and whatever. Diane McAvaney began working as a bus driver in 2002. She retired with 19 years of service with the district. Diane had a great sense of humor, and she had me on speed dial. I talked to her. I talked her off the ledge a few times, but she was a hoot, and we miss her dearly. Diane McAvaney. Thank you. Then last but not least, Kim White began working as a bus driver in 2010. She retired in December with over 10 years of service to the district. So thank them both for their dedication.
That concludes all of our retirees from 2020 and 2021, and I think it's time to give everyone a big round of applause because there's some fabulous people here.
Superintendent, if I may, I'd just like to thank our retirees. It's been our honor tonight to recognize your over of a millennium of service to our school district. It's truly remarkable. We're going to miss you very, very much. Hope you don't stay away. Come back and visit, and we wish you the best on your retirement. So thank you. You are more than welcome to stay and enjoy the remainder of the meeting with us. However, I think I'll probably call a 5-minute recess so that anyone who may want to leave can. So thank you.
I just want to say, if there's one person that I could credit with where I am, it's Christine Bozeman. So thank you for all you've done. You truly radiated and lit up a lot of people's lives. So thank you.
Thank you. We'll have a 5-minute recess. Are we just about ready to restart? All right. I'd like to welcome everyone back from our recess for the June 7th meeting of the Concord School Board. We had just had the pleasure of recognizing our retirees. And at this time, Superintendent, I believe our student representatives are next, so you won't have to stand up again. And I'll just let the student representatives take over. So whichever's starting.
Sure. Good evening, members of the board. As it is our last monthly board meeting before the 2020-2021 school year ends for Concord students, we wanted to take this student representative support report to look back on the year, celebrate some final events at CHS, and look forward to the next year.
On Monday, May 26, upper and lower classmen academic awards were held. This year, they were held at the gym during the day, and live streamed so friends and family of attending students could watch. Tomorrow, senior scholarships senior scholarships and prize night will be held over Zoom. Students know ahead of time that they are receiving an award and when to join the Zoom, but will not know what they will receive until the award is given to them. Some donors will be present and able to tell their story, making it extra special.
Also, at the end of May, on Friday the 28th, was Spring Fling. This was a day-long event held at Memorial Field. It combined our homecoming-like events, like royalty, and our winter carnival events, such as club tables and games that typically occur earlier in the year. In typical winter carnival fashion, each grade got a period to go down and enjoy the festivities, and many students also volunteered their time to help run games and club fundraisers. Students were also able to get their yearbooks and do signings, an additional added bonus.
Last Friday, Be the Change Club hosted its annual International Night where food, music, dance, and culture were shared with the rest of the Concord community. It was another wonderful event by the Be the Change Club. We strongly encourage everyone to attend them when you can.
For final CHS senior news, our last day of school is this Friday, the 11th. Underclassmen will have one additional week of school focused on enrichment and wrapping the year up. Senior prom, as you approved earlier this year, is the 17th, and one graduation will occur 2 days later on Saturday, June 19th at Memorial Field.
Alice and I also wanted to give our final report on the bullying policy progress for this year. As you know, we paused our collection of feedback last month, understanding that with the end of the year and transition back into full in-person learning, it will make more sense to communicate to continue at a future time. We have decided to extend our work on the policy into the next year to ensure we receive valid and diverse feedback from the student body. Unfortunately, but understandably, with a very different year, we were not able to reach out to the broader student community enough to feel confident enough with our feedback to make all changes. However, we really appreciate and thank the feedback we have gathered so far. It is very valuable.
So as our report comes to a close, I just wanted to take a moment to extend my thanks to the board members and district staff. This is my last meeting as a student representative, and I have not only really enjoyed filling the role as a representative for the past 2 years, but the work has given me a lot of insight into what I am looking to do post-graduation, which I am very grateful for. To students, I really appreciate getting to help bring your voices to the district level. And even though I'll be far away in a couple of months, I am still looking forward to hearing all of your great work that Janita and the new future student representatives will do next year. We also want to extend our congratulations and thanks to all of the retirees. A lot of you have had a big impact on us, and we really appreciate all your work. Thanks.
Thank you both. And at this time, I'd like to say on behalf of the board, we wish you a great summer. We thank you so much for your contributions throughout this whole school year. We look forward to seeing you again next year, Janita. And with regards to Alice, I have to recognize that Alice has contributed not only to our board meetings, but to a lot of our work in policy. And it's obvious to see that, realize that she is the valedictorian of the class of 2021. We congratulate her on that, and we will very much miss you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Superintendent?
Thank you. I want to give a brief report. I have several items to review with you tonight. The first one I wanted to talk to was about the early release day. As you know, that given the forecast, really starting on Friday, Thursday and Friday, we knew that this weather was going to be a bit challenging for our students. And so over the weekend, I deliberated about what we should do in order to make sure that our kids were in a safe and healthy environment. With the conditions of 90 in the mid-90s and the high humidity, the fact that our students are still in the protocol of wearing masks, both indoors and outdoors, the fact that, you know, for the past, 15, 18 months, we've been using our mechanical systems to blow 100% air in through all of our vents, and technically we were blowing in hot air and humidity into those classrooms. And the other piece is that, you know, outdoors wasn't really useful to us. I didn't see that as an alternative for the kids to be outdoors under the tent at 95 degrees. So with all that in mind, knowing that we could keep the building as cool as possible through the night, the youngsters could come in and spend at least a half a day. It was about 4 hours they spent before the buses took them home. I want you to know, though, that in doing so, the transportation worked out fine today. They were able to accommodate all of our students. We also made sure that our youngsters received their breakfast and lunch. So they had breakfast and then they had lunch before they went home. And again, I thank Donna Reynolds for that. She stepped up over the weekend working with Jack to make sure that that happened. I had a couple questions from board members over the weekend, and one was about fans. And we purchased well over 110 fans for the district using our COVID relief money. Just because we did that even before the heat wave because of trying to move air in the spring. So we had 110 that were purchased. We also added additional AC units. Those were single units. Most of them were added over at Runlet. The problem that we have is some of the electrical systems can't take those high voltage without redoing the electrical system. So we know we have some issues, but we did put in a dozen AC units. And lastly, I do know that it was an imposition for families. I get it. You know, all of a sudden now they have to sort of pivot themselves and find appropriate care for the children, especially the young ones, our primary age students. And I recognize that. But weighing all the factors, I felt that in best interest of the kids, that we would have a half a day. And our teachers remained working. They continued working. It was a full day for them, but the youngsters did go home. So I don't know if I can take any other questions on that from you. I know some of you have some concerns.
Yeah. How many other school districts did this? How many other school districts?
Well, I didn't really watch it too much, but I know that Manchester closed. Hooksett was on part-time. Timberlane, Sanborn.
There were a number of districts.
Yeah, they did. And, you know, I try to make decisions on what I think is best for our students here.
I understand.
But there were a number of other students, school districts that made the same call or closed completely.
Okay, Ms. Walsh?
A couple of questions. I appreciate why we did it. I do think Sunday afternoon is very late for parents who are scrambling, and as we face situations like that, the more notice we can give, the better. My question is, if we decided the buildings weren't healthy environments for the students, why are we requiring the teachers to stay in there and work?
Because there were enough locations in the building that had air conditioning that they could move to. Here's a good example. We're in an air-conditioned auditorium. The high school teachers could use this. The libraries are all air-conditioned. So there were various sites in the buildings that they could use, should they choose.
one more.
Sure.
Wednesday is expected to be similar temperatures. Are we considering a change for Wednesday?
Well, I want to watch that because Tuesday night we're expected to have significant thunderstorms and rain. So I haven't made that call because I felt it was too far ahead. And the forecast wasn't expected to be those high temperatures based on the weather from Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. So I'm going to have to watch it. I mean, it's just like it's like a snow day. I understand that, but you know, I have to at least get whatever data I can get.
Other questions? Yes, Ms. Smith.
I just have a question maybe for Matt. Just curious what the range of temperatures were that we're seeing today, and second, sort of to go along with that, how much does that vary overnight when people come back tomorrow morning? How much lower does that tend to get to?
Thanks, Danielle. I actually went to 3 of the 4 older schools today. I have a air testing meter. I took random tests of where we had, you know, where I suspected the warmest areas, which would be 5th floor, 4th floor here. I did random testing over at Beaver Meadow and Runlet. So I had anything from 76 degrees, 78, was relatively consistent, 79. What Kathleen was talking about too, we are pulling in outside air. We're filtering it, but we're pulling it in off the roofs. The roofs create a lot of heat. So I did an outdoor test, and I was getting about the same temperature readings. I also measured relative humidity in all these rooms. I plan to do it again tomorrow. Relative humidity was about 63% on average, which again, it was about that on the outside too. So I kind of wanted to put together quickly a scientific test, get out there with the kids being in the school, teachers being in the school, and just try to get a good sense for, you know, what we were seeing. So I'm glad you asked the question. Does anyone have any questions at all?
And
about
then,
that?
so would that be consistent, you think, in the building tonight, or do you think it's sort of, when you come in the morning, will it be generally cooler or probably hotter, or I don't know?
Another good question. So I've instructed the custodians, second shift custodians, to leave the windows open so that the cooler temps will come in at night, and in the morning, you know, try to absorb as much of that cool air before things really start heating up again. The CDC, we're following the guidelines of our air systems being on at 100%. I can feel it in the hallways, I can feel it in the classrooms, so it's a little bit of a dual-edged sword. We're bringing in 100% outside air, but because it is warm out there, we're just bringing it right in because we don't have cooling capacity in most of the areas in the 4 schools.
Matt, what were the temperatures in at Kristen McCullough, Abbott Downing?
I only viewed them via computer because they're dehumidified air in those 3 schools from back in 2012. And I had a good rapport with the head custodians. I had not heard any complaints at the 3 newer schools, so I really wanted to target, while the kids were in school and the teachers for the half day, I wanted to target those 4 older schools. Okay. The only one I didn't get to was Broken Ground, but that's first on my list on my way in tomorrow morning.
Okay, thank you. Other questions? Yes, Ms. West.
This one might be for Kathleen. How is this going to impact the summer programs? Do you have the summer programs?
How will this what is the do we have concerns about the impact on summer programs?
Well, I mean, we always have hot temperatures in the summer. I think the issue is, again, the issues here have been the change in protocols. Normally we would have had school, but with kids wearing masks and the fact that we're pumping in so much outside air, it changed the dynamics of the decision. This summer, we're going to be faced with some of that. So we know that there are high temperatures, and if the kids are wearing their masks, then we're going to have to make accommodations. But we're not talking about the numbers of students. Now we have more places that we can, use in a building that will have air conditioning. I mean, there's rooms and office space and libraries, common areas in the high school that have air conditioning, so we'll be able to assess that to move kids around. And basically that's what we did today. The principals moved people around in order to accommodate the temperatures. I mean, it's a fact of life in New England that we do have in June these kinds of temperatures, so we're going to deal with it with our custodians and with the help of Matt.
Ms. Higgins? Oh, you had your hand up. Nope. Oh, sorry, that's Jack. Sorry. Ms. Cannon.
I just heard from Barb,
Mm-hmm.
who said she's going to, the sound is very bad, and I can attest to that. I'm going to watch on TV. I will not be able to vote.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Ms. Higgins, for that feedback. Anyone else here with a question for the superintendent? Thank you, superintendent. Thank you, Mr. Cashman.
Thank you, Matt. The next piece of my report, I would like to report on the letter that I received from the Attorney General's office. This letter was dated May 27th. About a week and a half ago, Karen Fisher Anderson and myself met with the Attorney General's office. They requested our presence. They were interested in knowing what the district has done in response to the Perkins report. We shared with them the documents, which, by the way, you'll find on the webpage that has all of this information. But we shared our matrix, which was the response. I think I've shared that with you this year on several occasions. We also, updated them, of course, on the position of the Title IX Safety Compliance Officer. They were pleased to hear that. We also shared with them and gave them copies of all the policy work that we've done over this past year, addressing many of the issues that were of concern, and also highlighted the web page where we have posted all of those documents. The Attorney General's office did a very thorough investigation. They had requested huge amounts of information and materials from the district. They took those materials, they presented them to grand jury, and it was based on 3 RSAs. Actually, it's the same RSA, there's just 3 sections. It's RSA 169, obligation to report / failure to report. And they reviewed all of the data that was given to them, obviously the meeting that we had with them. And just like to read the letter if I could. However, after review of the materials obtained, this office has determined that the evidence does not support criminal charges against the Concord School District Administration under RSA 169C29, RSA 169C30, and RSA 169C39. The statute criminalizing the failure to report suspected child abuse in the Department of Human Services. So there will be no further action. They appreciated and have shared the materials, and they have recognized that the district has taken the recommendations in the report seriously and has made positive changes to ensure that all state laws, rules, regulations created to keep our children safe are followed. The matrix outlining the school district's actions in response to the report is publicly available through the website. This is a positive report. I think it's a piece that you have been anxious to hear about, and we will have. I believe they've already posted this letter on the web page. So I think it closes a piece of the concerns that you had over the last couple of years. I'd answer any questions that I could, but it's pretty self-explanatory.
Any questions? Thank you, Superintendent.
The last piece that I have for you tonight is not so much a report, but I'm asking you to consider that we allow and waive the mask wearing of our students when they are outside. We have about, 10 days, 8 days, 9 days left, I guess. 9 days left for the school year, and we've had a lot of requests for youngsters to be able to be outside if they so choose without a mask. I would recommend that it be an optional for the youngsters, but for those who would like their youngsters to be outside without a mask, I would ask that you consider that only when they're outside. Now, some people have said, well, what are they going to do with the masks, when they leave the classroom to the door to get outside? And, the teachers are amazing. They come up with the greatest solutions, from, clothespins, clipping them, to places where the kids can grab them when they go back in. So I'd ask you to at least consider it. We've been talking about it for a while, and we did talk to Dr. Noble. As you know, Jim Noble has been conferring with us over the last 15, 18 months, and Jim gave his approval for the youngsters to be outside at recess, or outside under the tent during their instructional periods, and they are distanced without their masks.
Okay, so I gather, Superintendent, and if I want to summarize, you're asking us to make a motion to permit students to not be wearing a mask when they are outside of the school buildings for the remainder of this year?
That's correct.
Do we have questions or discussion? Mr. Weinberg.
I'm not opposed to this. I do wish, though, it was written that way on the agenda so that people watching or people reading it beforehand understood that we were going to be voting on this.
Okay, other questions? Ms. Walsh.
I'm also not opposed. I wonder if we could put it off until after the public comment period in case anyone has comment on that.
I've already kind of personally made that procedural decision. I've kind of tried, and as all of you have, tried to make a commitment to the fact that the public will have an opportunity to comment on anything we're going to be voting on. So, Superintendent, we will take a vote on this, but it won't be until after public comment.
That's fine.
Immediately after public comment, we can vote on the mask, of not wearing masks outside. But in the meantime, I'll still see if anyone else has any questions from the board. Yes, Ms. Cannon?
Do we have any recommendation? I know, Dr. Noble or Dr. Chan, has he made any statement about, what concerns me is that the younger kids who have no ability at this point to be immunized. Right. And we don't really know what the numbers of our 12 to 18 are as far as immunization goes.
So, for those of you who weren't able to hear Ms. Cannon, we'll get her microphone. I believe she was asking, do we have any recommendations from Dr. Chan or from any specific items from Dr. Noble regarding our younger students who have no ability to be immunized? And to be quite honest, we don't have a strong number or fact base on how many of our older students are immunized as well. So do you go ahead, Superintendent?
I mean, we've been doing athletics, and the kids have been out there without masks. The rates in the city for the COVID virus are very low. Dr. Noble did indicate to us that he thought it was fine to be outside without a mask, so we took his advice. We know that the city has dropped their mask requirements and waived that, and so it just made sense when the kids were outside playing that they could do that without their mask on.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead, Ms. West.
Do you know, are the elementary school students social distancing during recess?
No social distancing when they're outside and under the tent, sitting in classes when they have instruction. I mean, we can have the kids, try to keep the kids separate, but, I mean, we are talking about young kids who play together. I don't want to, I think that is a difficult thing to monitor, but, the teachers have been, will be made aware that you try to keep the kids separate as much as you can. But I can't stand here and guarantee that they're going to be 6 foot distance or 3 feet, between 3 and 6 feet.
Superintendent, do we have any feedback from the principals of the elementary schools or from the teachers?
Yeah,
on
the
this
principals
topic?
I get emails from teachers wanting to know when we're going to, take the mask requirement, waive it. I haven't got a lot of that are opposed or that don't want us to do anything. Most of it is, when are you going to remove the masks? The principals, some principals believe that we should continue wearing the masks since we set that stage early on. Parents expect it. That's why they allowed their children to come back to school. And there's a whole nother half of the principals who think the children should be outside playing without their masks. So it's like any other decision that we've been faced with around these issues. It's split right down the middle.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Ms. Walsh.
Are we going to give an opportunity for parents, particularly of the elementary school students, to make clear what their preference is for their child?
I think it's an option. I said that if they feel their child should wear a mask, then they would, that's the instruction for the youngsters. I worried that would be difficult for the teachers trying to keep track of everyone, but they indicated they didn't think that was a big deal. So I actually had a granddaughter, and they're out, and she's in first grade, and I asked her about masks, and she said to me, she looked at me and said, they're optional. So some kids wear them and some kids don't in her school. Doesn't go to school in Concord, but another large school district.
Okay.
So I don't know what to tell you. I think it's 50-50, but I did, for all the people that have contacted me, I did indicate and tried to, I told them that I would discuss it with the board.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Janita.
Have you asked students whether or not they feel comfortable within the older districts, if they feel comfortable with having
their
friends?
No, I didn't.
Okay, other questions? All right, well, we will consider and have this further discussion and vote after public comment. Do you have anything else for us today, Superintendent?
That's all.
All right, thank you. And at that, go ahead, Mr. Weinberg.
For this period of public comment, a board member is not even able to participate over Zoom. So I guess I'm curious how other people who are virtual would be able to participate in this public comment.
Mr. Dunn, can people outside participate in public comment?
Yeah, if they log on, as far as I know. I mean, maybe this sounds great. I have no way of testing what's remote. I don't know.
I was going to say, Mr. Hardy, do we have any feedback on how our sound is carrying across on both the TV or on the internet?
I think that'll do it right there.
Okay.
Okay.
And we'll see if people log on. Mostly because...
Mr. Hardy, you don't need to apologize. We appreciate the difficulties we put you on, the difficult situations we put you under to be able to hold these meetings as we do. All right. Hopefully people can hear us. We just discussed the possibility of allowing students to be outside without wearing a mask. We are going to open the lines and the internet in a few minutes for any public comment. So please feel free to either call in or to come in through our Zoom portal. Do we have anything else before we take public comment? Not seeing anything. First off, I'll say, is there anyone here in the auditorium who would like to make comment on an agenda item? And this is for agenda items only. I'll remind you that comments must be made within the policy 132, essentially a 5-minute limit. And yeah. Yes, because now it is on the agenda. So yes, during this period, you may discuss the mask proposal that we just heard, because that actually is on the agenda under discussion of mask protocols 4C. So that certainly falls under the items that we can discuss. So with that, please state your name, where you're from, and what your comment is.
My name is Joseph Guadagno. I am a teacher at Runlet Middle School. To begin, I wanted to thank the superintendent for, weighing all of the data and the options and having a half day with our students and our staff in mind in terms of health and safety in the classrooms. I also want to thank Mr. Cashman for stopping by my classroom today and actually showing me the meter and taking me the time to show me the data that he collected. Unfortunately, there was a discrepancy between the thermometer in my classroom and Mr. Cashman's meter. So my thermometer said 85 degrees and his meter said 78 degrees. So either maybe there's a time for the meter to acclimate to the classroom that's necessary. I work on the second floor of Runlet Middle School, the 300 wing, and my room is one of those rooms that does not have an AC, so I share an AC with the next door room, so the door is open and there's a fan blowing the cool air in, but that air conditioning is only on for part of the morning, because in order for the next room to have AC, we have to shut that one down between 10 and noon. And so my room gets a little warm, I just wanted to make sure that the board and everybody knew, what was actually happening in the classroom there. So I just thought I'd add that information. The other piece I wanted to comment on is the mask piece. I'm a teacher. I take my students out for mask breaks regularly, and I think the superintendent said it best. These are youngsters. 3 feet, 6 feet, doesn't matter. So I think we should be very honest about that piece. Kids are going to go outside and they're going to take their masks off. And if we don't have a very clear guideline that says either you may or you may not take your mask off, you put folks like me in a pretty difficult situation where now I'm arguing with a 13-year-old about, what the policy is, and it's hot out or whatever, So I think that we need to look at the reality of things and how far we've come with the advice that we've had and the prudent decisions and the painstaking detail that have gone into the decisions that you've made, but the superintendent has made, and weighed all of the options. So thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments tonight. Is there anyone else in the auditorium that would like to make a comment on an agenda item? Not seeing anyone, but if you change your mind and you want to come down and make a comment, we will come back to the auditorium after we go to any online comments. Mr. Dunn, do we have anyone online that is waiting to make a comment?
Currently I don't, but if someone online would like to make a comment, please raise your hand and I'll call on you. Nope. Got a hand raised. If you would, I will lower your hand. Please unmute yourself, state your first and last name and where you're from, and go ahead and make your comment.
Hi there, this is Melissa Heimbach. I'm a parent of a Runlet middle schooler and a high schooler. I live in Concord. I'm a little frustrated right now because you thankfully just fixed the Zoom, but it's been over an hour and 44 minutes of a Zoom that we could not hear, we could not see any video, and the closed captioning was horrific. It was pathetic. And so we had a number of students who wanted to talk during public comment and a number of community members who wanted to speak during public comment, but the Zoom has been so compromised with the technological problems that we have lost everybody. So I just want to let you know that technology is really, really important to improve accessibility and participation from your community. The students had asked for a slot on this evening's agenda on May 17th to talk about the Runlet Middle School dress code, and they were told they would not be given a slot on the agenda and that they had to speak during public comment only. They were organizing and ready to speak during public comment, but anytime anyone signed in on Zoom this evening, they were met with absolute, inability to hear, inability to see, and inability to read what was going on during the meeting. So, in essence, the students and the community members were not provided participation or access to this meeting. And, a lot of kids have to go to bed now. So you've lost an opportunity to include your students in the process, lost an opportunity to include community members in the process, and I hope that you will put the dress code on the next agenda, even if that has to be in the fall. But you've missed an opportunity on a pressing issue that's been in the papers, that's been all over social media, and I just want to let you know that over 750 people have signed a petition about the Runlet dress code and how racist, sexist, and classist it is and how it promotes rape culture. So I hope that you will consider putting it on the school board agenda as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. I believe that the dress code is being addressed administratively at this time, which is appropriate, unless, of course, we want to review the policy. But the policy in general, at this time, as far as I know, basically makes this an administrative item. But we will certainly, we apologize for not being able to have heard the beginning of the meeting. And of course, anyone can always write an email to the board or to the district and make any comments in future meetings. So thank you for that. And once again, I apologize for technical difficulties. Mr. Dunn, do we have anybody else waiting?
There's people, but no one has their hand up at the moment.
Okay. Does anyone else in the auditorium wish to make a comment at this time? Still no one, Jack?
No.
Okay. I will remind everyone that there is another public comment session, item number 12, that is on any topic, and that will be at the end of this meeting. So thank you for the comments, although I don't believe that the dress code was on the agenda. I probably should have deferred that till later in the meeting, but we'd still appreciate the comment. Next item up is personnel. Superintendent, will Mr. Prince be covering this? Mr. Prince.
Thank you. We have some professional leaves of absence to have you look at tonight. In all cases, they are taking a leave from their existing position to assume a role, another role in the district. So first is Mr. Crumrine. Tom Crumrine is taking a leave from his science position at the high school to take on the assessment coordinator position. And then Sarah Oliveira is requesting a leave from her third grade teacher position to be a math coach in the district. Erica Izzy is in the same situation, taking a leave to be a math coach at Abbott Downing. Sharon Surrett is going to be a math coach from Millbrook and is taking a leave from her classroom position. Chris Demers is the assessment coordinator, but he's going to be a math coach. And then Leslie Ann Berry is going to be is taking a .2 leave of absence to take the .2 curriculum facilitator piece at the high school. So I would ask that you approve those leaves of absence.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve those leaves of absence as stated. Sure. I was going to wait till discussion. No, should we discuss it after seconding? Do we have a second to the motion? Seconded by Ms. Walsh. Now discussion. Ms. Cannon?
Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Take your time.
I'm sorry, who seconded? Pam? Was that?
That was Ms. Walsh.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, trying to keep up with the...
No worries. So now, Ms. Cannon.
Okay,
any
so
questions?
I had a couple of questions that I guess I'm not really understanding how this all works, because it appears that a bunch of positions were eliminated because of declining enrollment. People moved from classroom to coach, and then the people who would otherwise have been no longer working because the positions were downsized because of declining enrollment were then moved into the classroom positions that were made available because the people in the classroom were moving to the coaches.
We ultimately, and at the end of the day, we lost no positions. Everybody who was scheduled to be reduced in force or whatever, we were able to find work for. So no one lost their position.
Okay, and the people who are coaches, are those, like, is that ESSER funding? Is that 1 year?
Yes.
So what happens at the end of the year?
At the end of the year, if those positions don't exist, then I believe we're looking at potentially 2 years, but if they don't exist, these folks will go back to their regular job. Yep.
Okay,
That's why the leave pretty much guarantees them a return to their existing position.
Okay, what happens with seniority of the people whose positions were terminated, but then they took the positions that were opened because these people took leave of absence to take other positions?
If there is a reduction in force, ultimately, if that's, I think that's where
I'm confused because people are moving around, and
Yep.
what we saw was so-and-so's position has been, what was the language that you used? Anyway, the position was eliminated because of declining enrollment. So then is that person out of a position because...
No, we were able to find positions for those folks in other buildings. We had some that transferred from Krista to other.
No, I mean in the 2 years when the ESSER funds run out.
Yeah.
And the coaches that have taken a leave of absence from the classroom teaching to do the coaching.
Yeah.
If the ESSER fund, or when the ESSER funds run out, it won't be an if we don't fund those out of the budget, then those people who are coaches go back into the classroom.
That's correct.
Because their leave of absence will be over.
That's correct.
And what about the people who took those classroom positions because their position was...
Essentially, they'll be reduced in force. There would be a layoff if that ended up happening.
Okay, I'm just trying to understand the moving of people.
I didn't hear you. Yeah, and once we have retirements or resignations, which we always do, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I just try.
Oh, believe me, it's musical chairs for us in HR.
Exactly,
Believe me,
yeah.
it's tough to keep track.
Thank you.
But it's very typical, though. You know, it's typically what happens.
Any other discussion, other questions? I'm going to ask for a roll call vote anyway, even though Barb is...
She's back.
Is she back? Barb, are you back? Can you hear us? And can you communicate? I'll still ask Ms. Cannon to call a roll call vote for the approval of the temporary assignments as presented and moved and seconded.
Yep, and I'll come back around to Barb in case she can hear us and log in.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Parker.
Aye.
Mr. Richards.
Aye.
Ms. Smith.
Aye.
Ms. Walsh.
Aye.
Mr. Weinberg.
Aye.
Ms. West.
Aye.
I'll vote aye. Ms. Higgins,
Can you hear us and chime in?
She's not
Okay.
unmuted, so.
So at this point, we are 7-0.
Okay.
Motion
you.
is approved.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Continue, Mr. Prince.
Then I'm happy to bring forward a nomination for Caesar Mtimbiri, who's the assistant principal at Beaver Meadow School, replacing Lee Childs, who has resigned. This would be a step 3 placement. He actually has a PhD, and his annual salary would be $116,278. And he's actually in our audience today, and I'd like to introduce him to the board. We're very, very happy to have him.
Welcome.
Okay, so if we're looking for a motion to accept the Mr. And can you help me with the pronunciation again, please?
Yes, I can. He actually gave me a little tutorial on it. Mtimbiri.
Well, Dr. Mtimbiri.
Caesar, yes. Caesar.
So, Dr. Mtimbiri, welcome. And I will make the motion to accept the nomination, the administrative nomination of Dr. Mtimbiri for the Beaver Meadow School Assistant Principal. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Weinberg. And once again, we can have a roll call vote whenever you're ready, Ms. Cannon.
Okay, Mr. Parker.
Aye.
Mr. Richards.
Aye.
Ms. Smith.
Aye.
Ms. Walsh.
Aye.
Mr. Weinberg.
Aye.
Ms. West.
Aye.
I vote aye. Ms. Higgins, are you able to join in? And is that an aye?
Yes, I think so.
That's an aye. So we are 8-0. The motion is approved.
Thank you, Ms. Cannon, and thank you, Ms. Higgins.
Thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Prince?
Yes, I have some teacher nominations. Mr. Thomas Crumrine as the assessment coordinator for the district at a salary of $87,188. Alice Okturski, a district world language teacher at 20%. We're adding 20% to her existing 60% at $10,080. Shannon Karen, a student interventionist at the Concord High School at $89,937. Erica Izzy will be the math coach at Abbott Downing School at $87,188. Krista Mers will be the math coach at Beaver Meadow School at $87,188. Tina Marie Hussey will be a classroom teacher at Beaver Meadow School at a salary of $53,696. Hannah Linquata, a preschool teacher at Beaver Meadow School. This is a 28% position to bring her to 100 at $13,560. Sarah Oliveira, a math coach at Broken Ground School at $69,457. Rebecca Frent will be the math coach at Krista McCullough at $71,381. Eileen Guzman, a music teacher at Krista McCullough. We're adding 17% to her existing position. This will be at a cost of $11,247. Jessica Heath as a classroom teacher at Krista McCullough School at $48,428. Hannah Hoyer, a classroom teacher at Krista McCullough School at $66,158. And Sharon Surratt, a math coach at Millbrook School at $87,188. And then Allison Davis, a classroom teacher at Broken Ground School at $79,399. We've been busy.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Prince. Do I have a motion for to approve the teacher confirmations?
So moved.
The motion is made by Ms. Smith. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Walsh. Discussion. Does anybody have any questions or discussion? Please call out if you see that Ms. Higgins is trying to flag me down. She's right over my shoulder right now. Not seeing any not seeing any further discussion. I know she's doing something over my shoulder right now. Not seeing anyone who would like to ask any questions or any further discussion, Ms. Cannon, will you please call the roll vote, please?
Yes. Ms. Higgins? Barb, can you hear us? Are you on board? Okay.
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
Mr. Parker?
Aye.
Mr. Richards?
Aye.
Ms. Smith?
Aye.
Ms. Walsh?
Aye.
Mr. Weinberg?
Aye.
Ms. West?
Aye.
And I vote aye, 8-0.
Thank you. And lastly, I have some coaching nominations. One coaching nomination for the spring, intramural flag football at Rowland Middle School, Mr. Scott Geyer, with a stipend of $1,350. And then we have 3 fall coaching nominations. Nicole Armaganian, varsity field hockey coach at the high school at $4,353. Daniel Diachenko at Concord High, an assistant freshman football coach at $3,894. And Andrew Mazzarazzo, girls varsity soccer head coach at Concord High, with a stipend of $956.
Does anyone care to make a motion to approve the coaching or to confirm the, I guess, the coaching confirmations? Moved by Mr. Parker. Second? I will second it. Discussion on the coaching positions. Not seeing anyone's hand. Ms. Cannon, will you please call the roll for the vote?
Certainly. Ms. Higgins?
Aye.
Mr. Parker?
Aye.
Mr. Richards?
Aye.
Ms. Smith?
Aye.
Ms. Walsh?
Aye.
Mr. Weinberg?
Aye.
Ms. West?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Thank you.
8-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Prince. At this time, well, I don't see Barb. She's going back. At this time, we have a report from the Instructional Committee. Ms. Higgins, will you make the report on the Instructional Committee from the meeting of May the 5th? We're happy to wait for you.
So, ladies and menopausal mother, newborn. Too much to break, can I just say. All right. So I will say that the instruction committee has been enjoyable and easy of late after months and months of difficult times. I'm utterly unprepared, so I apologize.
I think it's on page 28 if you have a board book.
I'm so sorry. I actually signed up for a while and I was able to get that on. Hey, it's terrible sound for a while. Really, really terrible sound. So, all right. So our instructional committee meeting was centered primarily around graduation and how the graduation ceremony would work. And since the committee meeting, which is over a month ago, the ceremony is really solidly put together. The layout of the field is terrific. It's all going to flow beautifully, I've decided, and the weather will be perfect, which we also discussed and voted on at the meeting. So that was the initial part of the meeting. Then we talked about coronavirus aid, all of the funding money and the grants that we're applying for. And as you can know by just reading the newspaper and following along, the money is promised, it's not necessarily delivered. We have applied. Katherine and Donna have worked furiously to get funding for us to cover teaching positions and programs in our district, things that will hopefully leverage out and balance the effects of coronavirus in our district. The numbers are staggering, quite honestly. So we went through all sorts of categories: summer programs, safety and wellness, food, all of the things that have been affected by coronavirus. So hopefully those things will continue to come along. We also talked about 21C and some of our own programs that are continuing. Our plans for summer and fall are extensive. And I think in a time where we face a lot of criticism, things our district is doing for our students and families educationally and lot of the information that we took in, and now we just need to see it move on and hopefully come. That's what I got.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Higgins. Does anyone have any questions? Not seeing any hands. Thank you very much. We'll move on to Communications and Policy Committee. Ms. Cannon, I believe we have 2 meetings to report, correct?
We
meetings
do,
to report.
and I think Ms. Smith is going to report on the first one, as I was not able to be there.
All right, thank you. Ms. Smith?
I will try and work my way through that and refresh my brain. We met on May 12th and discussed some different policies that were coming up sort of on our timeline of things that needed to be addressed sooner than later. You can see, I believe on page 38, yes, some of those policies that we talked about. We voted on to bring to the board, let me just make sure I'm in the right, policy number 200, which has been renumbered and renamed, revised, school safety. We also are bringing forward number 201, crisis prevention and emergency response plans. Number 3, we are recommending new policy number 202, workplace safety program and joint loss management committee. Again, some of these are ones that we're running on sort of a timeline and needed to approve quickly. So we're bringing some of those forward for a first reading now. And then number 633, community education, we actually were able to delete because that is not part of our jurisdiction anymore. It's kind of taken over by the city. And that's a summary of things that we are bringing forward tonight.
Very good, thank you. So we have policies 200, 201, and 202 brought to us for our first reading. They're in your board books or online if you want to look under the school board page. And we'll have discussion tonight if anyone has any questions or any discussion they'd like to have. Otherwise, they will be brought for second reading in our next meeting, and that's at that point we will vote on them. Does anybody have any comments with regards to any of the 3 of these policies? Mr. Weinberg.
Just to clarify, all of these are to bring us in line with like state statute or requirements, or is this for reviewing?
Can you say that one more time? Sorry.
Is this to bring us in line with upcoming requirements for like state policy, or for us just to review as we're going through policy?
I believe they were to bring us in line with state policy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. However, you still may comment on it if you'd like, so even though. Any other questions with regards to the policies? Okay, thank you, Ms. Smith. And please read over the policies and we will bring them for a second reading at the next board meeting. The second meeting was held on May the 20, you might have to help me on this one, June the 2nd. Ms. Cannon, are you reporting on this one?
Yeah, sure. So we met on June the 2nd. We have a bunch of policies that are required by law to be updated. The ones that Ms. Smith spoke about are in fact required by law to be updated, so that's what we're trying to get accomplished and bring them into line. The other 2 that we're looking at are also as a result of change in the state of the law in New Hampshire with respect to student conduct and student discipline. So we looked at revising Policy 540, Code of Student Conduct, and we looked at revising Policy 543, Student Discipline and Due Process. We, at that meeting, voted to bring it forward for a first reading in July, but we also wanted to let people know that we would be asking at that time that the second reading be waived so that we can get those policies into effect, so that the assistant principals at the Kathleen, principals or assistant principals?
Both.
Okay, so that they can have a policy in hand, because each school itself has to put together their own protocol and procedure. So the sooner we can get those into the hands of each building administration, the more time we give them to come up with the procedures and protocols for their particular buildings. So we're not having a first reading tonight. We will be having a first reading in July, but we wanted to bring to everyone's attention that we will be asking in July to waive the second reading and approve it in July.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Cannon. That policy, or the policies that we would be waiving a second reading on, will they be available for the public as well as the board to read prior to the July meeting? And if so, where?
Hold on. That's a really good question. I would, I know that they're in our board books.
That's okay.
but
I don't
doesn't-
expect you to have
I'm
all
not
of the
sure I have that
answers.
answer for you.
I don't expect you to have all the answers. However, I would say, at least on a personal level, that if we were going to be waiving a second reading, if we could possibly have it in the board book and available online for us to review prior to the July meeting, I think that would facilitate those actions.
Well, and if people want, it's in your board book under the Communication and Policy Committee for June 2nd.
Okay.
So
very good.
they do exist, and they are actually in the drive.
Okay, and
I don't know whether the drive is accessible to members of the public, though. No. So we should post those somewhere.
Yeah, can we talk to Ms. Fisher Anderson and see if we can get these posted so that people can review them prior to our July meeting? That would greatly facilitate the discussion, as well as being able to have the board members comfortable with waiving a second reading. But thank you very much for your report. Is there anything else, Ms. Cannon?
Nope, that's it.
Excellent. Very good. Any other questions? All right. Next is Negotiations Committee. I will report on that. The Negotiations Committee met on May the 24th. We do have a tentative agreement with CEOPA, and we are awaiting ratification at this time. And that pretty much summarizes the Negotiation Committee report. So we will give you more when we hear the yay or nay of their ratification. Yes, Ms. Walsh.
CEOPA is the administrative assistant?
CEOPA stands for, what does the acronym stand for? The Concord Office Professionals. The Education Office Professional Association, I believe so. So these are our office professionals. Other questions? All right, we'll have more for that as we hear more. At this point, item 10, the Ad Hoc Committee for Anti-Racism and Discrimination. Who will be making that report today? Mr. Weinberg, if you will.
So in our past couple meetings, we have continued to work on our mission and the vision so we can try and make sure we have a set path on where we're going as a committee and advisory. Moving forward, there now, as we're continuing to break into subcommittees, trying to review the matrix, which will be going on this week, which was created over a year and a half ago, so a lot has changed, and we're trying to update, so we're highlighting what the district has been currently doing in addition to where the district wants to go. Next meeting is tomorrow, where we'll discuss how we want to meet throughout the summer and in the future.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Weinberg. Any questions from board members? Not seeing any hands. Next item, proposed calendar of meetings. Superintendent?
If you take a look at your June calendar, I bring your attention to tomorrow evening at 6 o'clock at the middle school. There will be a presentation, a tour, and an opportunity to ask questions and provide answers. Some of them, I suppose, we are still in the planning stages, but there will be a chance for people to ask questions. That'll be tomorrow, Runlet, at 6 o'clock. On Wednesday, you have two meetings. The first one will be the instructional committee meeting. That instructional committee will entail a review, a very big picture review of our fall planning. I won't say that it's with all the detail, but we wanted to begin those discussions with instructional, and as well as some of the work that we've done on ESSA. I think Barb referred to the work on the grants, and we just want to update the committee on that. Followed by that will be a finance committee meeting following the instructional meeting. That's tomorrow. That's Wednesday evening. Again, I bring your attention to Saturday on the 12th. Again, this week, there'll be a repeat of Tuesday's meeting at Runlet, where we will have a little brief presentation with some information about the Runlet Middle School building project, followed by a tour of the building and an opportunity for the community to ask questions at the end and provide input. Following week, again, that'll be a very busy week. On the week, technically, if you will, the last week of school, starting with capital facilities on the 14th. This will be a great night to be able to discuss what the feedback that we received from this week, Tuesday and Saturday's meetings. Wednesday, we have a communication and policy committee meeting to review our policies, and two pieces at that meeting. We will be presenting the suicide plan to the Communication and Policy Committee, along with an updated FERPA policy. Just a note, on 17th is the prom. Can't miss that. Last day for students is on the 18th, and Concord High School graduation is on Saturday morning, June 19th at 10 a.m. The following week, you have an executive committee meeting and a special board meeting for budget review. That may be a good opportunity also by then to have the board vote on the COPA contract. We hope that that will be ratified by then, so then we can bring that contract forward. We'll have that all ready for you, and we'll be sure and have the appropriate postings. And end the month of June, a very busy month for you, with a community relations meeting at 5:30 on the 23rd. In July, it's a little bit quieter, I think, with respect to folks' vacation schedules, your schedules, as well as the staff schedules. So it's a little bit lighter, but notice that in July, your meeting is on a Tuesday, because the first Monday of the month is Independence, is the day that we celebrate Independence Day. There will be an executive committee meeting, which will be non-public on the 12th and the 19th. Followed by that same week of capital facilities on the 21st, and again your traditional end of the month executive committee meeting on the 26th, negotiations, and an instructional committee. That's a busy night, but you had indicated early on that you wanted to roll all three together. Negotiations, hopefully we will have settled all of the contracts by then. That meeting may or may not be held, but you do have a number of contracts coming up, so you need to take some time to begin to deliberate yourselves as to where we're headed with negotiations. So I believe there's 5, Jack, am I right? 5 contracts up next year to negotiate, so it will be a busy year. Other than that,
okay.
I do want to make one more point. We are expected to have at the Department of Ed by June 23rd our plan for returning to school in the fall. And we will make a presentation to the instructional committee on the 9th. And I was wondering if we could put that on the agenda for the 21st.
No, I
And
think
we'll
that's
post
appropriate.
it and do all that. It'll be the, what we believe to be the case. I mean, obviously, things can change from June to September, but with all of the protocols, expectations about what school in Concord will look like when we return in the fall. At September 1st.
Yeah. I have no problem with that. Is there anybody else on the board who has a feeling with regards to adding that to our special meeting on the 21st? Or have any questions? No, I think you can add
Great.
that to.
That would be great. Thank you. Other than that, I think I'm good unless you want to add anything else.
I just wanted to say the 24th of June is not written on here, but I believe that is the initial meeting of the disciplinary task force.
Good point.
And I just wanted to make sure
Yeah.
that the public, that
Right.
was a public
Yeah.
information item.
Yeah, we have a great group, about 13 or 14 people on that committee, made up of students, teachers, administrators, family, parents, and community people who have all stepped up to volunteer and participate on that committee. And so our first meeting will be very organizational, getting to know each other, setting the mission and the vision for what the committee wants to do over the next, say, 4 or 5 months, and because we want to be able to have some recommendations for the board when you begin budget deliberations. So we'll work starting in June, probably July might be a tough month, but then hop on to August. We can have more than one meeting a week. So I'm pleased with the response from our community, and I will be looking at lots of information and data around discipline in our schools.
Okay. And will you be giving us updates, I assume, on the timing of completion, or basically the progress of that? Basically, so we know what, is this a 2-month task force, a 6-month task force?
Well, I would say that we would probably be working right in through to October at least. I mean, we have a lot to do. We want to look at all the data. We want to look at all the programs that the district offers, such as responsive classroom, the MTSS, the multiple tier systems of support, as well as restorative justice. Of course, the position of the SRO is wrapped into that, because that's a service around school safety. So all of those factors. So it's going to take us a little bit of time to work through. We'll have some people come in and do those presentations.
Okay. Questions on the calendar in any way?
Thank you for
All right.
reminding me of that. Should have known that.
Very good. Do you have anything else, Superintendent, calendar related?
No, I think that's it. I mean, I did, I didn't give it in my report, but certainly we're in the process of applications for vacancies. I think you heard from Larry tonight. We're doing a lot of interviewing. I know he's set up 5 or 6 of them for me over the next week for positions, as well as the central office positions. Those application periods have closed, and so our first meeting for the position of Director for Student Services will be held on, the first meeting will be the 14th of June. And again, an organizational, get everybody in and start the process.
Okay. And that brings us to our final public comment session. I just want to refer back to the, go ahead, Mr. Weinberg, yes.
Do we still need to vote on the proposed mask motion, or are we waiting?
Yes, we do have to vote on the mask. We have put that in there. And so before we have our second period of public comment, I certainly would entertain a motion to address the mask request by anyone who would like to make it. Ms. Walsh.
I'll move that we allow allow students to remove their masks outside beginning Wednesday, which allows parents some time to make a decision about what instructions they want to give their youngsters, and teachers some time. And I assume since we're only in half day.
Okay, so the motion has been made to allow students to remove their masks beginning on Wednesday, June 9th.
Went outside.
Went outside of the school buildings. Is there a second to that motion? Second. Seconded by Mr. Parker. Discussion. Mr. Weinberg.
So I don't want to completely ignore Janita's question because it was a good one about whether students have been asked about how they feel regarding this. So I do want to say that was recognized.
Okay. Thank you. Other comments or questions? Yes, Ms. West. I think I see your hand all the way down there.
It sounds like the motion would be for it to be district-wide, and I just wanted to say that I'm still worried about the logistics around elementary students being on the playground and distancing, and having parents that, you know, would want their kids to be masked, and whether or not a kid running around on the playground with unmasked children is going to keep their mask on just because their parents said that they want them to.
Okay, thank you. Other comments? Yes. Ms. Richards, go ahead. Here, please pass this.
So I know that there are some instances where they're separated and some where they're just playing on the playground, so they're not distanced, but I was just wondering about the maximum capacity that you think, like, amount of students that would ever be together outside unmasked, because I know in small quantities it might be safer than if we have like a large group of students unmasked all together. I don't know if anybody has an answer to that.
I had a hard time hearing you, Alice.
Yeah, sure. So just in terms of the amount of students we think will ever be grouped together in terms of like large capacities. I know that sometimes they're distanced in classroom settings outside, or they're playing on the playground. But I was just wondering if you have any numbers or idea in the whole district as to like what's the maximum
Well, there's
amount.
like the 3 recess periods. I mean, after they finish lunch, before or after lunch, depending on their schedule. So that's not the whole school. You figure the school population is around 300 right now. So it's split up. The numbers are smaller. And for the most part, other than one of our schools, there's a tight playground area. But for the most part, they're pretty spread out because they have room. So it's not like all the school is out at the same time, you know, so there would be more congestion. I think that's your point, is it? Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. However, prior to school starting, I expect that there are a lot of kids outside waiting for the meeting, and that would be pretty much a good chunk of the school population. And Ms. West, I'm sorry.
Was it Kate or was it me?
I'm sorry, Ms. Walsh. Sorry, I thought I can barely see her. I can never tell if her hand's up or if Jonathan just leaned back.
Just on your, about waiting outside, the elementary school students are not waiting outside. They're all
Okay.
going in immediately into school.
Okay, I didn't know if that had changed with the warmer weather.
It hasn't. At
Okay.
this point. Or
Okay.
It hasn't at Christopher College.
Okay, now Ms. West.
Actually, yeah. So would this apply, though, at drop-off and pickup, because there are students, I know at least at the elementary school, that are outside, they're not playing at the playground, and there are large numbers of students?
I'm asking that when they go out to recess, that they be able to take it out. When they're out running around on the swings, on the monkey bars, whatever they're doing with their playground equipment, but coming in and out of school, I mean, they're coming out of their building, they can't leave their mask somewhere, so we just as soon have them when and they have to wear them on the bus, so that's gonna, you know, that's kind of a moot point. In terms of pickup with parents, is that what you were talking about? Then I think I'm going to have the principals wear their masks until when they get in the car, and then they can take them off when they get with their moms and dads. Parents, guardians, or whoever's picking them up, right? Brothers, sisters.
I just have so it's kind of connected to what Kate just said. I was just thinking about like bus lines, because those tend to be pretty congested with students waiting outside. So I guess it was just kind of a connected hiccup question.
Bus lines are the same thing, you know, they're outside, they have their masks on, they got to get on the bus. I want them to wear their masks. This is really just when they come out to recess. That was really the big issue the most feedback I got was from families and parents, and requests was around the recess time.
Okay, so this would be just applicable at recess time.
Right, but I mean, they have to have the masks on when they go outside to get the bus and so forth, so.
Okay, and then, yes, Gene, Ms. Cannon, go ahead.
For the purposes of the motion and not to drive Lyndon totally crazy, so we're going to do a motion to allow students to remove their masks when outside at recess only. I mean, that's changing the words, so I want to make sure that Ms. Walsh and Mr. Parker are.
I'd accept that change to the motion.
Okay. Mr. Parker? Okay. I'm just for note
No,
purposes.
thank you very much, because that is a point of clarification. So, other questions?
So for high school students and I think some middle school students, we don't have recess. So if that policy goes out, or if this goes out, how will it still apply for like students in the high school level? Because I know that we are allowed to go outside and eat, and that's usually when students do take their masks off. So would that be the same, like when we have our lunchtime and when we go outside, we're able to just take off our masks, or how would that?
Do I assume those are mask breaks that you go outside? I mean, we still have mask breaks. The teachers are still taking them out and, you know, for 3 or 4 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever, for a mask break. I know that your students sometimes walk down to the memorial field for an activity, so I've seen the youngsters, they're expected to wear their masks when they walk with their groups. I'm going to look to Mr. Reardon. Can you help me with that in terms of students at the high school and what the status is? I mean,
I think the two times that that Janita is referring to during the school day would be lunch, and when the kids are coming in and leaving the building, coming to and leaving the building. You know, I'm going to be quite frank with the board. When the kids are coming in the morning, I'd say maybe 10% of them don't have their masks on, maybe 15%. We're not making an issue of that right now. When they get inside the building, they all have their masks on throughout the day. At lunchtime, obviously, it's a somewhat different situation. If you're eating, you can't eat with a mask on. More and more kids are eating outside. If you pass the school, during the lunch hour, you'll see as many as 40, 45 kids up on the steps of the McAuliffe Auditorium having lunch without their masks on. So those are the two times during the school day, I think, that apply to the high school.
Ms. Walsh.
Do we intend for this to apply for outdoor PE classes?
good question.
As we're amending the motion.
Yeah, I mean, if I were the PE teacher, just like the engaged in the athletics, they're not wearing their masks. If they're standing on the sidelines, that's one thing, but, you know, I saw some kids play this weekend and they didn't have their masks on. I mean, I'm going to ask that outdoor activities, that students be allowed not to wear their mask. How about I put it like that rather than focus on just recess? Yeah. Outdoor activities that students have, that they be allowed to remove their masks.
I think that's, I'd be willing to take that change. I'm glad I'm not Gina trying to keep track of this change.
I think the clarification will help everybody. For the kids walking over to Memorial from the high school or outside when they're out taking their breaks, or a PE class, or you know, they're playing a game or they're running. These masks, especially with the temperatures up a little bit, I think it's important.
Mr. Weinberg.
And correct me if I'm wrong, the recent CDC guidelines also says that vaccinated and unvaccinated outside don't need to wear them.
Yeah, that's right.
Correct.
So, I mean, there's 100 different takes on everything, right? But, I mean, the governor's dropped the mask, the city has, and there's no idea whether somebody's been vaccinated or not, right? As adults even. So.
No, I'm, given the data that we have, both in our school district as well as in Merrimack County, I am comfortable with this particular one on my own personal point. Ms. Cannon.
I just want to clarify, and I need to double check with Pam and Dave. So the motion to allow students to remove their masks when engaged in outdoor activities as of Wednesday, 6/9. Pam, is that what you intended?
Yes. That's fine.
Okay.
Okay. Any other comments? Questions? Ms. Cannon, the motion has been made and seconded. Would you please call a vote?
Absolutely. Ms. Higgins?
Aye.
Mr. Parker?
Aye.
Mr. Richards?
Aye.
Ms. Smith?
Aye.
Ms. Walsh?
Aye.
Mr. Weinberg?
Aye.
Ms. West?
Nay.
And I vote nay. So 6-2.
So the motion carries
Motion
6-2.
carries.
Thank you. Now, before we have public comment, I just wanted to go back and, apologize for the fact that at the very beginning of the meeting, many people couldn't hear, and that our communications outside of this room were not entirely clear. The one comment we had was question with regards, and I assume it's with regards to policy 541.2, because that would be what the school board would be addressed on, which is the dress code policy. And superintendent, correct me if I'm wrong, but if they have if they feel like the particular school is not behaving in accordance to that policy, that would be something that they would bring to the principal, and then if they did not feel that it had been addressed appropriately, it would be brought to the superintendent. If they have a problem with policy 541.2, I believe the proper procedure would be to have a board would address or assign this to the Communications and Policy Committee to take a look at at a future time, and get it on their agenda. Am I missing anything? Because I don't want to dismiss a constituent or a citizen's concerns with regards to this. I just want to get through the proper procedure with regards to how we address it. Not everything is addressed here at the board level or is appropriate for us to address directly, although I do want to clarify that people can make a comment during this second public comment phase on any topic they wish. So they certainly are able to call in or to come in and to make that statement. So am I correct in that?
You're absolutely correct, and I would encourage those students who did not speak tonight to put a request into my office. I would be happy to meet with them. I think that would be important. I think they need to bring their concerns to the policy committee, since it is a policy of the district, and work it out through the protocols that are in place.
Okay. Thank you very much. Ms. Higgins.
I just wanted to echo what you were saying. So as someone that often has a difficult time with the process, one of my very favorite administrators in my teaching career, Bill Whitmore, often guided me in following the process. So we have a group of students with a very, very, very valid issue, and there's a process to follow. And when the process is followed, you need the success or failure, that dictates your next step. Do I have to go to the next level of administration? Do we need to go to the board? In the last 2 years, with the crazy things that we've gone through as a district, school board meetings have become very, very open and public in a way that they have never been. We
have to drive to the meeting to make a comment, and now you can make it from your porch. And so I just want to acknowledge that I'm really impressed with the work of the students, and I love the points they made, and I think their concerns are valid. But following the process and the protocol, anyone that's been involved in public service or government or a school district knows that you have to take steps. And if the district isn't doing their part to address the steps, then that's when the board comes in to jump in. I wouldn't want any student to think I didn't care. But part of the beauty of our process in our district is that there's always someone to bring a concern to at any given time. So that's all. I just wanted to support you, Jim, and Kathleen in your response to these things.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Higgins, for your comments and clarification. Ms. Walsh.
I just wanted to know who is communicating with these students what the process and protocol is, because at our last meeting, probably around the same time, maybe an hour later, we had a discussion about how they needed to follow the process, and I don't think it's reasonable. I think we have a responsibility as a district, as an educational matter, if nothing else, to tell them what the process is and not expect them to figure it out for themselves. So I would hope we could reach out to them to explain their next steps and help them facilitate a meeting with the superintendent.
Superintendent, that seems to be more something that you would do, and I believe that the person that...
I don't know who the kids are, so the principal, Paulette's here, and she's been working with the youngsters, so exactly what steps she's given them for next steps, I don't know. So I absolutely would meet with them, but I don't even know who they are.
I'm not sure exactly which group this is. It's been actually wonderful to see how the kids have, they're trying to find their voice. I've met with groups of 7th graders and 8th graders, and they've had some really legitimate concerns, I think. And so we're trying to guide them through the process. Like, how do you find your voice? If you disagree with something, what are the steps? What is the process? So I do not know who the students are, and I'm not sure who reached out. I'd be happy to meet with them if I know who they are and explain to them what next steps are. We have responded to a lot of their concerns already. I would like to say that a lot of the concerns were not anything that administration had said. There were a lot of rumors and a lot of social media things that were happening that were not even accurate. They came to me with questions that I had no idea where they had even heard some of these things. So they're middle schoolers, and we want to empower them and encourage them to have a voice, but they also need some guidance along the way. Does that make sense to you? So, okay, where did you hear that? Well, someone told me that. So, okay, that becomes more gossip, and it's not like really accurate information. So they have been, I actually met with a group today, and they were awesome. They were amazing. They enjoy talking and coming in and telling us, actually I did hear about the petition. And so when I clarified to them, well, that was a rumor and that wasn't true. You can show your arms and you can wear sandals. Those were never things that had been said. They were like, oh, okay. So I think it's a great learning opportunity. I really like what you said about explaining to them what the process is more clearly.
Well, we have an email from the students who asked to be on the school board agenda, and that was our discussion at our last meeting.
I believe we had the student government president or student council president or something that sent us an email. We can forward that to you.
Share those emails.
Sure.
Yeah, I can forward that one to you. And I guess I'd like to ask the question, if someone were to want to read in detail the dress code policy for the Rundle Middle School, where would they find that?
We follow the district policy. And so it was a reminder, I don't know. I could just say, we had a reminder, it was spring, it was getting warm, dress appropriately for school. The tack that I took, or the approach that I took, was dress for the task at hand. You're coming to school to learn. So you can't wear shirts that have swearing on them, shirts that have references to alcohol and things like that. We had originally said, okay, shorts, no shorter than fingertips, just for some general guidance, which is something that we have done every year. And this, I think, because of what's happening out in our larger society, the kids came back with some really good points. So we've really thought about those things. We've really, we're responding differently. I think we had to do a lot of work with our staff too, not a lot of work, but just reminders like don't talk to kids about what they're wearing, email us if you have a concern and things like that. So I think right now we're living in a time that people are feeling things very strongly, and I certainly don't want to dismiss any of that. I want kids to be able to have a voice and to share their concerns. That's what we're trying to do with them.
Okay.
Yeah.
It sounds.
Go ahead, Mr. Clark.
It sounds to me that you sort of must know who they are if you're meeting with them. You said you don't know who's.
Well, I know there are we've met with different groups of kids,
okay.
so I'm not sure.
You don't know all the groups that are.
Well, I don't know who emailed.
Oh, right, okay.
That's all I'm saying, Dave.
Yeah, I thought so. I just wanted some clarification.
Yeah, I just don't know who it was who had emailed. But I would be happy to sit with them and explain what the process
I agree
is.
with Pam. You want, and I think all of us would say, we want kids to have a voice.
Absolutely.
And we like the activism. On the other hand, as Barb was saying, protocol is important, and then Pam was saying, who's teaching them protocol? And I think that's where we are, and if you can put some effort towards that and finding who these people are and be willing to teach them a little student government or regular government, it might help. So thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Weinberg, go ahead. Pons. Sorry. Go ahead, Ms. Richards.
So I don't know. So I guess what I'm just trying to say is I know we're not really doing anything with the dress code. You said you follow the district's dress code, correct? Okay. We looked at it right here. I guess I would just encourage those students, I agree with everybody, to be able to talk to it. I know that the dress code has been something that's been debated and an issue since we went to Runlet and have continued to the high school. And I know that especially the shorts, that's a big thing. And I would say that I agree with the person who commented earlier that a lot of the rules that we have around dress code are sexist and racist, and there's definitely some bad stigma around them that we need to change. So I would just encourage those students to come forward and talk to who they can and really look, if we're addressing it in regards to the district policy, really look at what the district policy is saying about some of those things that we're creating, because I think that there might be some discrepancies that we should address.
Yeah, and the students who have come forward have been amazing. They really have. So, and we've been able to, like I said, clarify a lot of the misunderstanding and the rumors that are out there, and so.
Okay. I was going to say, I find the district policy to be very broad.
Very broad.
That
Nothing about specific links.
if it's demonstrated that a particular style of dress or personal grooming would be disruptive to the educational process, constitute a threat to the safety and health of the individual or others, I particularly think of like laboratory type items. You may need something that's long sleeved or something. It would be, but that's pretty specific on that report. Or is in violation of any lawful statute, it would not be permitted in the school. So that's pretty specific. But within these limits, the final decision to attire and grooming shall be the good judgment and responsibility of the individual students and
parents.
their parents.
Yep.
So pretty pretty broad in my
Very
personal
broad,
opinion.
yeah.
So.
But that's not what's in the Runlet handbook.
Yeah.
So that,
Okay, well, that is why I asked where they would find the
Our handbook is
dress
very
policy.
outdated. It's very, very outdated.
But I think that's what the students are responding to and what they feel is, like, the handbook is much more.
So if the handbook is outdated,
Yeah,
then
like
I would ask us to address the handbook. Is the handbook someplace where is that online?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that if
And-
someone is concerned about specific Runlet dress code, they can look at that and bring their concerns to the principal, and then through the process, which would be to appeal it or question anything that they're not satisfied with the office of the superintendent. Am I correct in that? Right? If someone had a problem with the Runlet handbook not being in accordance to school district policy 541.2, then they would first bring it to the principal, and if they did not feel that their concerns were addressed, they would contact the office of the superintendent. That seems the way I would approach it, and am I incorrect in that? Or is that the correct way for them to do it?
Yeah.
Yeah, Jim, what I just heard was it was outdated, so it's probably some work they need to do on that.
Okay.
Yes,
So it sounds like there's some work that needs to be done on the
We don't
handbook.
need to be, if we're already saying that, then, we as a district ought to look at that, and right? So.
Correct. That
So-
is something that we were working on this summer.
Okay, thanks.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
So
Yes, go
I
ahead.
so I just want to, I mean, we're all talking about this, but I just want to encourage us to look at the Runlet handbook, because I know that we see that there's discrepancies between, obviously, what we've heard through that and the district policy. And I do think that when I was a middle schooler, we were told to look at the handbook for a lot of things. So I think that could be where a lot of the students are maybe getting information. And then I know that rumors can change the way that we perceive things, but I do think that the Runlet handbook directly has discrepancies with the district policy, and so I think that's a lot of the students' concerns are coming from the handbook, because we're told to look at that directly.
Okay.
And I think that we should readdress it because it has some outdated terms that we shouldn't expect our students to follow.
Okay, so I'm happy that we'll be reviewing the handbook over the summer.
Absolutely.
And, and if someone wants to make a comment during public comment period, they're more than welcome to. Any other questions? Yes, Mr. Weinberg.
I guess since there's a week and a half left of school, how are we remediating this for the time being, just to make sure that, I at least, we've gotten a lot of emails about this. I just want to make sure, I know we're going to do it over the summer, but I want to make sure the next week and a half, students won't be inappropriately targeted based on gender or otherwise.
So right now, we're telling staff if they have a concern about the way a student is dressed, then they email the grade level administrative assistant, and then they will flag an administrator, and the administrator will call home to ask the parent if they know what their child is wearing, and if the parent knows and they're okay, then we're fine. However, if they are wearing something that is really distracting or goes against the district dress code, we address that. So, for example, we had a student who had swearing on his shirt, and it's like, well, yeah. We addressed that. We contacted the parent and, worked with the parent on that. So that's how we're...
Ms. Richards.
This is a small thing. I just hope when we address the handbook that we make sure there's a distinction between distracting in terms of like racist and derogatory comments made on shirts in regards to like, I'm wearing a tank top and that would be considered distracting from like a male gaze. Like I think there needs to be a huge differentiation between those two things.
That is absolutely not the distracting that we're talking about.
Okay. Other questions? All right, thank you for addressing this and for answering our questions. With that, we are to our final public comment period. Is there anyone here in the auditorium who would like to make a public comment on any topic?
My name is Joe Guadagno. I'm a middle school teacher at Runlet Middle School. Yes. just speak? I think that the dress code issue is not
Joe.
a run-let. Oh.
Just make sure.
I don't think the dress code issue is a Runlet Middle School problem specifically. As Alice pointed out, the dress code issue has been around for a long time, even before Alice's time, and I remember when Alice was in my class a long time ago. So I would recommend that the board look at the district policy and be more specific with those guidelines so that our administration has something to work on to build the handbook from, and then those things can get, I think we have a chicken and the egg problem here. With that district policy as broad as it is, you're going to run into some problems. Does Alice's tank top, and I don't mean to pick on Alice, but, she brought it up. So is that a distracting thing for a classroom? What is appropriate dress for a school? Is that the school board's responsibility to define that more specifically? I just think that comes first before we get our handbook right and before we put students and teachers and administrators in a battle and we start throwing out things like racism and sexism and rape culture. I mean, that's some pretty strong language that, some professionals don't, my principal, myself, do not deserve that kind of feedback from folks when that's absolutely not what we're doing. And I just want to stress that's absolutely not what we're doing. We're trying to create a safe learning environment for all students all the time. That's it. That's all we want to do. It's a pretty simple thing when you say it like that, but it's a very complicated thing from a policy standpoint. So. Thank you.
So, may I ask a question?
Absolutely.
So, to clarify, you would like us to make a more definitive or restrictive dress code as opposed to the broad open dress code that we currently have?
I think that the school district's policy, was it 521A?
541.2, I believe.
541.2. When was that policy written?
2018.
2018.
Okay, and everybody on this board feels like that's a good enough policy, that you want to keep it broad like that.
I would want to, before I change it, I'd want to study it, but that's my personal point of view. The board itself would have the committee look at it and make recommendations to the whole board. So, but I was just asking what you would.
No, I see what you're saying. On a personal level, yes, I think that the district policy, not that it should be more restrictive, but it should be more defined so that we can build our school handbook from a more defined policy.
Okay. Thank you. I'm sorry, what?
Can I say something?
Yeah, go right ahead.
So I think there's a balancing between the board being specific and allowing for the building administration to exercise discretion. So I think there's a balancing there that we as a board are going to have to come up with, what we're comfortable with.
Okay. So this would be something that perhaps we will take up at a future communications and policy meeting. Other comments?
Yeah, it's just that we're not opposed to reviewing policy. I mean, how many policies do we review?
An awful lot.
In policy, and a lot, like, what, 8, 10? And so I think there'd be nothing wrong with us reviewing that policy again, but to ask us how we feel about it right now without further study, I think is,
okay.
I'm not willing to do that, give you an answer to that question. So, but I think it's a good question, and that's why we review the policies that we do with regularity, I think, and spend a lot of time on it too, really.
Thank you, Mr. Barker. Other comments? All right. Any other comments from the people here in the auditorium? If not, Mr. Dunn, will you open up our lines for public comment on any topic?
Right now, I do not see anybody besides Board Member Higgins.
All right. Well, certainly I will remind everyone that they can email the board with any comments or questions. And not seeing any comment, and Not seeing anything else on our agenda. Superintendent, I don't believe we have a need for a non-public session this evening, do we? We do not. So unless someone has further business, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I didn't catch out. Ms. Smith, moved by Ms. Smith. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Parker. Ms. Cannon, would you call the roll so Ms. Higgins can participate?
Absolutely. Ms. Higgins? Mr. Parker?
Aye.
Mr. Richards?
Aye.
Ms. Smith?
Aye.
Ms. Walsh?
Aye.
Mr. Weinberg?
Aye.
Ms. West? Aye. And I vote aye. So
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.